Namaste. In one of the earlier videos, I had talked about the basics of Kalpanasuram singing. The key elements being choosing the Sahityam line, choosing the connecting note, how to start, how to expand the sequence of notes, and how to conclude. We had discussed some very basic Kanakku or core-wise in concluding the Kalpanasuram sequence. Now let's look at another interesting aspect, Neraval singing. What is Neraval exactly? Neraval or Neraval, also called Sahitya Vinyasam, is an improvisation aspect of Carnatic music. This belongs to the Manodharma domain of music, along with raga alapana and Kalpanasuram singing. During the rendering of a kriti, the musician takes up a line out of the Sahityam and renders it in imaginative ways multiple times using the kriti's ragam and the rhythm cycle. This is basically Neraval. Let's take an example for a simple demonstration of Neraval using Tulasi Dalamulache in raga Mayamalavagowla, a kriti of Tyagaraja. The first line of Charanam is usually used for Neraval. Sarasiruha Punnaga Champaka Patala Kuravaga. Here the composer is describing the various fragrant flowers that he is offering to Rama during his prayers. This particular line has an edup of half and the talam is Rupakam. Usually we start by singing the line, the Sahityam line, as it is sung in that particular Sangati of the Kriti, and then move on to Neraval exploration. So, first sing the Sangati as it is in the Kriti. Sarasi ruha punnaga Chaupaga patala kura Vagaga sarasi ruga punnaga. Now you start the Neraval portion of it. Remember the edup is half. Sarasi ruha punnaga Chaupaga patala kura Vagaga sarasi ruga punnaga Chaupaga patala kura Vagaga sarasi ruga punnaga. You start like this and then you can explore, just like Swaram singing, we can explore the scale in higher scale, in the mid scale, and so on and so forth. Sarasi ruga punnaga Chaupaga patala Kuravaga sarasi ruha punnaga Chaupaga vadala kuravaga sarasi ruha punnaga. You can sing it in two speeds as well. Sarasi ruha punnaga Chaupaga padala kuravaga sarasi ruha punnaga. Now let's look at the basic elements of Neraval singing. First, the chosen line for Neraval should express something that is elegant and meaningful, and it should have a nice musical flow in that sense, so that it's easy to render it as a Neraval. Pallavi lines are rarely chosen for Neravals. It almost always is from the Anupallavi or the Charanam. And if there are multiple Charanams in the song, it can be from any of the Charanams. As you may know, many Kritis have multiple Charanams, though we sing only one of the Charanams. Typically the Charanam that has the mudra or the signature of the composer. That's called the Ankita Charanam. Second, if the line has some pauses and long notes, this makes it probably even better and easier for improvisation. The next question is, when should the Neraval be sung? It can be sung as you render the Kriti at the point where the selected verse or the line appears in the Kriti itself, or it can be sung after completing the entire Kriti and sung as an appendix to the main Kriti. Both types of methods are used by musicians and it's their choice. If the Neraval is sung without completing the entire Kriti, that is at the midpoint of the Kriti, then naturally it goes without saying that you will have to sing the rest of the Kriti after completing the Neraval. The Eduppu or the starting point of the Talam is maintained as in the original song for most part. There are occasional exceptions to this, where the musicians take the liberty of converting a Samam Eduppu to a half or a 3/4 for a better presentation and flow of the Neraval. That is again up to the musician's choice. Now, while rendering, the syllabic positions of the Sahityam in the rhythm has to be almost the same. What do I mean by this? The position of syllables in the Sahityam in relation to the beats should remain in the same place. Again, there are different opinions about it. One view is that it should be very strictly maintained, that it should come exactly in the same point. Another view is that you can be a little bit lax on this, it need not be exactly at the same position. I generally would tend to go with the second view, that is, broadly maintaining the same syllabic positions in the beat cycle. You can take a bit of liberty with it. How many speeds should a Neraval be sung in? Usually the Neraval is sung in 2 speeds. There is the first speed which will be the natural speed of the song itself, and the second speed which is double the original speed. Slower speeds than the original Sahityam's rhythm cycle are usually never sung in Neraval. Singing in 2 speeds is almost mandatory for Vilambakala Kritis. For Madhyamavati Kritis, one may choose to sing only 1 speed. There is a natural speed of the Kriti itself. It all depends upon the chosen line for the Neraval and the pace at which the song is usually rendered. Now, one question that is frequently asked is, what is the difference between Neraval and Pallavi singing as in Ragandhanam Pallavi? Broadly speaking, though there are similarities, the Pallavi has a specific rhythmic structure with 2 parts. The point of separation is called the Aruti or the Padagarbham. That need not be the midpoint of the Talam, but it's a kind of separating the different limbs of the Pallavi line. The pause that appears here is called Vishranti, time of rest. Also, Pallavi exposition takes up elements like Anulomam, Vilulomam, etc. That is singing in half the original speed, double the original speed, etc. in sequence. Neraval does not adhere to such a specific steps or variations. Of course, Ragandhanam Pallavi is a big topic by itself and perhaps the most complex element of Manodharma Sangeetam, sung by musicians with a fairly high level of skill and expertise. Now we look at some examples of Neraval singing. Let's start with Mayamalavagowla Ragam, the Kriti, Deva Deva Kalayami, Rupakatalam, and the point where Neraval is sung popularly is Jata Rupa Nibha Chela, Janmarjita Mamakhilam. Eduppu is half, so the normal Sangati in the song goes like this. Jata Rupa Nibha Chela, Janmarjita Mamakhilam, Jata Rupa. So every time you come back to the beginning of the Sahityam, you will have to use a half Eduppu because that is how it is being done. As I mentioned elsewhere, you could change the Eduppu from, let's say, a Samam to half, but usually it's very rare for a half Eduppu to be converted into a Samam Eduppu while singing Neraval. Such changes to the Eduppu is somewhat of an exception rather than the rule. You can start by singing Neraval in the region of the notes that the Sangati itself has, and then slowly expand the scope to mid octave, higher octave, whatever it is, depending upon the starting point of the Sahityam. Jatarupa nibhachela Janmarjita mamagilam Jatarupa nibhachela. I sang the same Sangati to start with, as I mentioned, and then we go into now the exploration of the Neraval. Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilam Jatarupa nibhachela janmarjita mama kilam Jatarupa nibhachela. This is sung in first speed. Like this you can expand into second speed and so on later before concluding the Neraval. Now let's try some more variations of this. Jatarupa nibhachela Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela. Like this you can even explore the higher part of the octave, Tarasai, etc. Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa. Now we can try second speed. Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa. Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela. So like the second speed also you can try several of the variations. Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa nibhachela jalmarjita mama kilau Jatarupa. Then you can go into swaram singing, first speed swaram and second speed, no? Magari gama Jatarupa pada mapa maga Jataru gama pada nisa nida pa maga gama Jatarupa. And then pada mada pa magari gama Jatarupa pada nida pada mapa maga Jataru gama pada nida pada mapa da pa magari sa re gama Jatarupa, etc. And then you can conclude it with a chorway of your choice. That Tirmanam aspect of it we'll be dealing with in another video which I'll be posting soon. Now let us look at another example. In Shankarabharanam, a Vilambakala Kriti, Eduppu being Samam. The Kriti is Saroja Dalanetri, a Shyama Shastri's composition in Vilambakalam, Aditalam. And the line chosen to sing Neraval is Samagana Vinodini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nute, which also happens to be the Ankita Charanam. The Eduppu happens to be Samam here, and Vilambakala Kritis by their very nature blend very well with Neraval singing because the long pauses you get in the notes in the Sahityam, which makes it even more elegant to sing Neravals. The Sangati, as it is sung in the Kriti, goes like this. Samagana Vinodini Guna Dhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba Samagana Vinodini Guna Dhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba Samagana Vinodini Guna. Now we can explore the Neraval aspect of it. Sam Gana Vinodini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba Samagana Vinodini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba Samagana. Now we can go into the mid part of the octave, the higher part of the octave and so on, as well as sing it in second speed as well. I'll show a few more examples. Samagana Vinadini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba Samagana Vinadini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba. Now we can do second speed also. Samagana Vinodini Gunadhama Shyama Krishna Nuteyamba. Then you can go into Swaram singing. Mogari Gama Samagana Pada Pama Pama Gama Gari Gari Sanisa Nisari Gama Samagana. Like that you can continue and then sing second speed swarams as well as conclude it with a chorus of your choice. Now we will demonstrate a Chaputalam with a 2-aksharam eduppu from the Kriti Ninne Nammidinaya Mysore Vasudevacharya's Kriti in Simhendra Madhyamam. The Talam is Misra Chap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or sometime also rendered like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The line chosen for Neraval is Pannagendra Shayana Pannagari Vahana. The Sangati in the song goes like this. Pannagendra Shayana Pannagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana Pannagendra Shayana Pannagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana. Then you can continue to explore further nuances using the ragam as a foundation. Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana. Similarly, you can sing second speed also for this. Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana Panagari Vahana Pannagendra Shayana. Then you can go into Swaram singing. Gamavadhani Pannagendra Shayana Sarigari Sani Sari Niri Nidapa Mavadhani Pannagendra Shayana. Then second singing of course. Gamavadhani Pannagendra Sarigari Sani Dari Sani Dabadhani Pannagendra etc. And conclude it with a chorus of your choice. So that was a presentation on basics of Neraval singing. The next question is, how do you learn more? You must learn from an expert guru who can provide detailed guidance, and you must also listen to all the great musicians' rendering of Neravals, which is all available so easily in social media now. Singing Neravals is a creative exploration in Carnatic music. Dedicated and focused effort will definitely make you an expert in Neraval singing. All the very best in your journey in music. Till we meet again, Namaste.